There are people who walk among us wearing smiles but hiding knives behind their backs. They speak softly, but their hearts are filled with manipulation, deceit, and control. These are not just difficult individuals, they are dangerous ones. And if you're not alert, you'll confuse their charm for character, their flattery for love. But today, let's uncover the chilling truth behind their behavior and protect our hearts, our minds, and our purpose. There's a weapon more dangerous than fists, more subtle than a lie, and more powerful than any scream. It's silence. Yes, silence used strategically, intentionally, and maliciously. This is one of the most chilling tools in a narcissist's arsenal. They don't always attack with words. Sometimes they attack by withholding them. When a narcissist goes quiet, it's not peace. It's punishment. It's a silent war meant to destabilize you. They know exactly what they're doing. They withhold affection. They withhold validation. They withhold communication. Not because they don't know how to talk, but because they want you to beg. They want you to question your worth. They want you to feel like you're invisible, replaceable, forgettable. And while you're sitting there wondering, what did I do wrong? They're watching, feeding off your confusion, and enjoying your emotional collapse. See, their silence isn't random. It's calculated. It's not a moment of reflection. It's a moment of domination. It says, I control the connection. I decide when you feel seen. I decide when you feel heard. And the worst part? You start thinking they're the prize, when all they've ever done is poison the relationship. They create a vacuum, and in that vacuum, your self-esteem starts to suffocate. You try harder, you speak softer, you compromise more, just to break that silence. But the more you chase peace, the more they tighten their grip. You think if you love them better, they'll stop hurting you? But their silence was never about you. It was always about power. And the moment you start waking up to the pattern, they speak again, like nothing happened. As if the days or weeks of emotional torture didn't exist. That's when you realize the silence wasn't just quiet. It was loud, manipulative, and absolutely destructive. Now ask yourself, if someone can weaponize silence, what else can they twist? What other traits can they pretend to carry while hiding something completely different? Because next, we need to talk about charm, the kind that hides something sinister, something dangerous, something you never saw coming. Charm is one of the most dangerous disguises on earth. It smiles, it flatters, it compliments, and it disarms. But don't be fooled. Charm is not always a sign of character. In fact, when it comes to narcissists, charm is often the mask that hides the monster. They enter your life like a dream. They say all the right things, touch all the right places in your soul, and make you feel like the most important person in the room. But here's the secret. It's all rehearsed. It's a performance, a script they've used over and over again. And while you're falling for the show, they're calculating their next move. Their charm isn't about connection, it's about control. It's bait. They use it to earn your trust, to lower your defenses, to gain access to the most vulnerable parts of you. Because once you're in, really in, the mask comes off. The words change, the tone shifts, and the same charm that made you feel safe will now be used to trap you. Have you ever wondered why narcissists avoid truth, why they run from accountability? It's because truth exposes them. Truth strips away the image. Truth reveals the lie. That's why they hate it. That's why they twist it. That's why they manipulate it. Until you're confused, until you're questioning your own memory, until you start to believe them instead of yourself. The charm was never love. It was never sincerity. It was never real. It was a costume, a mask, a distraction. And when you finally see it for what it is, it's chilling, because you realize the person you thought you knew never even existed. But if charm is the hook, what happens when you start growing? What happens when you begin to rise? When your light starts to shine brighter than theirs? Because next, we need to talk about why they despised your confidence and how your growth threatens their entire illusion. You would think your growth would make people celebrate. You'd think your confidence, your clarity, your healing would inspire others to rise too, but not to a narcissist. No. To a narcissist, your growth is offensive. Your confidence is a threat. Because the moment you begin to stand tall, they begin to lose control. See, they didn't choose you because you were weak. They chose you because they saw strength in you, that they believed they could break. They saw light in you, but they were determined to dim it. And as long as you were doubting yourself, needing their approval, begging for love, you were exactly where they wanted you, underneath them, dependent on them, blind to your own power. But then, something shifted. You stopped apologizing for who you are. You started healing. You started setting boundaries. You started speaking up. And that's when everything changed. That's when the smiles turned into sarcasm, the compliments turned into criticism, the love turned into competition. Why? Because a narcissist cannot stand to see someone rise unless they control the rise. And when they can no longer manipulate your mind, they try to assassinate your identity. They start planting seeds of doubt. You've changed. You think you're better. Nobody else will love you like I do. All of it to bring you back under their thumb. But here's the truth. Your growth exposes their stagnation. Your clarity reveals their confusion. Your healing makes them uncomfortable because now they're not dealing with the version of you they could control. They're facing the version of you they can't predict, can't silence, can't shame. And that's when their true colors show. Not because you changed, but because you finally saw them clearly. But don't get too comfortable, because if they can't break you with silence, and they can't stop you with charm, and they can't shame you for growing, they'll try something darker, something crueler, something that looks like care but is built on pain. Next, we expose the twisted pleasure they find in watching you suffer. It's hard to imagine, isn't it? That someone could look into your eyes, see your pain, and enjoy it. But that's exactly what happens when you're dealing with a narcissist. They don't just tolerate your suffering. Many times, they feed off it. They draw strength from your weakness. They feel powerful when you feel broken. They push the buttons, then sit back and watch the damage unfold. And if you cry, that's confirmation. If you beg, that's victory. If you start to question your worth, doubt your decisions, collapse under the weight of confusion, that's when they smile on the inside. Because in their twisted mind, your pain means they're winning. They won't always show it. They may act concerned. They may say things like, "I was just joking," or "You're too sensitive." But behind those words is a cruel satisfaction, because the goal was never resolution. It was always domination, emotional warfare, psychological sabotage. And your tears, they're trophies. They may even create chaos just to calm it later, just so you associate your peace with their presence. They make you suffer, then pretend to be your savior, break you, then offer the bandage. It's a sick cycle. And if you're not careful, you'll start believing the pain is love, and the abuse is normal. But here's what truly terrifies them: your ability to see through the illusion. When you stop responding the way you used to, when your silence is no longer fear but wisdom, when you no longer give them the reaction they crave, that's when their power begins to crumble. Because they don't just fear being ignored, they fear being exposed. And the moment you start seeing the game, the manipulation, the patterns, the cruelty, they know it's only a matter of time before you walk away for good. But before you do, there's one more thing they must try, one more tactic they use to keep you chained even when you're ready to leave. It's their strongest weapon yet, because it looks like love, but it's really just control, disguised in the form of fake peace. Next, we uncover their obsession with control and why they will do anything to keep it. Control. That's the heartbeat of a narcissist. It's not about love. It's not about trust. It's not even about partnership. It's about control. Total, unquestioned, unchallenged control. And when they feel that control slipping, they panic. They don't show it on the outside, but inside, they're scrambling. Because once you realize your worth, once you stop playing by their rules, they know the game is almost over. They don't want connection, they want compliance. They don't want you free, they want you dependent. Every move they make, every word they speak is designed to keep you unsure, unsteady, and off balance. And just when you think you've figured them out, they switch the strategy. Confusion becomes their weapon. And guess what? It works. Because control thrives in confusion. They'll gaslight you, make you question your memory, twist your words, rewrite the past. They'll convince you that you're the problem, that you're overreacting, that you're imagining things. And little by little, you begin to shrink. You stop speaking up. You second guess yourself. You walk on eggshells in your own life, but it gets worse. They'll isolate you, slowly, subtly. They'll sow seeds of doubt about your friends, your family, your mentor. They don't understand you. They're jealous of us. They don't really care about you. One by one, the doors close until the only voice left in your life is theirs. And here's the terrifying part. Sometimes they do it with affection, with gifts, with promises, with apologies. It doesn't always look like domination. Sometimes it looks like devotion, but don't be fooled. It's not love. It's leverage. Because if they can give it to you, they can take it away. And that is how they keep you trapped. But what happens when you stop playing along? When you say no without explaining? When you take back your voice, your time, your peace? They won't give up quietly. No. They'll try to pull you back in, and sometimes they'll use the very thing you've been longing for the most. Next, we expose how their apologies aren't really apologies at all, but carefully crafted traps designed to pull you deeper. An apology from a narcissist isn't always what it seems. It may sound sincere, it may look convincing, it may even come with tears, flowers, long texts, or emotional breakdowns. But listen closely, it's not about remorse. It's about re-entry. It's about getting back into your space, not because they've changed, but because they've noticed you have. See, a narcissist doesn't apologize to take responsibility. They apologize to reset the cycle, to start the manipulation all over again. They say what you want to hear, not because they believe it, but because they know it buys them more time. Time to rebuild control, time to regain access, time to keep you where they want you, within reach. You'll hear things like, "I'm sorry you feel that way, Or, I didn't mean it like that. That's not ownership. That's redirection. It's subtle blame wrapped in fake humility. And if you're desperate for peace, if you're exhausted from the conflict, it's easy to accept the apology just to breathe again. But here's the truth. Real change doesn't need rehearsed lines. Real change shows up in behavior, in patterns, in consistency. And that's where the narcissist fails every time, because they don't want to change. They want to manipulate the environment so they never have to. They'll cry if they need to. They'll promise therapy. They'll talk about trauma. They'll act like the victim. Anything to flip the script and make you question your decision to walk away. They'll turn the spotlight on their pain so you forget your own. And just when you think healing has begun, the mask comes off again, and the same cycle begins. This isn't restoration. This is emotional sabotage dressed up as reconciliation. And if you fall for it long enough, you begin to lose track of what's real and what's fake. But what if you stop accepting the performance? What if you stop listening to their words and start watching their fruit? Because next we're going deeper into the tactic that keeps you bound, even after the apology. The one where you become the villain and they become the victim. The moment you start seeing clearly, they flip the script. Suddenly, you're the problem. You're the abuser. You're the one who caused the chaos. That's how a narcissist plays the game. They twist the story so masterfully, they make you doubt what you know is true. And if you're not careful, they'll make everyone else believe it too. They don't just rewrite the narrative in private, they do it in public. They'll smear your name, distort the facts, tell half-truths, and play the victim with such passion, people will actually feel sorry for them. And while you're sitting in silence, still processing the trauma, they're out there performing your role as the wounded one. They'll say things like, I gave them everything. I don't know what happened, or they just changed. But what they won't say is how they drained your spirit, how they manipulated your love, how they created confusion and then blamed you for being confused. And here's the danger. If you defend yourself too much, you look guilty. If you stay silent, they call it coldness. If you speak up, they label it anger. It's a trap, a psychological prison. And slowly, you begin to wonder, am I the one who's wrong? That's exactly what they want. Because once they've convinced the world and you that you're the villain, they can keep control of the story and maintain their image. They can't stand exposure, so instead of admitting who they are, they destroy the version of you that holds the truth. And the more healed you become, the more dangerous you are, because now you carry clarity. Now you carry evidence. Now you carry the ability to walk away without explaining. But there's one thing they still fear, something they've tried to steal from you since the beginning. And once you reclaim it, they lose the one thing they fought hardest to control. Next, we uncover their greatest fear of all, genuine love, and why they run from real connection like it's a threat to their very survival. Real love, authentic, sacrificial, patient, and selfish love, is the one thing a narcissist cannot give and cannot receive. Why? Because real love requires vulnerability. It demands transparency. It calls for truth. And a narcissist fears all of those things. But truly love, you have to let someone see you, not the mask, not the performance, not the illusion, but the real you. And that is what they spend their entire life hiding. See, they can fake affection, they can mimic intimacy, they can imitate connection, but they cannot sustain real love. Because real love is not about control, is not about winning, is not about being worshipped, it's about service, sacrifice, and selflessness. As a matter of fact, I think that's what many would call love. But I think the best way to describe the true source of love is that service, sacrifice, and selflessness. And to the narcissist, that sounds like weakness. That sounds like losing. That sounds like surrender. They chase admiration, not connection. They want praise, not partnership. And when someone truly loves them, genuinely, without games, without flattery, it terrifies them because they don't know what to do with real. Real doesn't bow down. Real doesn't feed the ego. Real love reflects back their emptiness, their brokenness, their fear. And when you begin to love yourself truly, deeply, with grace and strength, you become untouchable. You become what they can never be. And that's when they retreat. That's when they sabotage. That's when they vanish, not because you weren't enough, but because you were too much of what they'll never understand. So don't be fooled by their rage. Don't be shaken by their silence. Don't be confused by their charm. They aren't running from you. They are running from love itself, because love exposes what manipulation tries to hide. Love demands honesty. Love holds up a mirror. And when that mirror shows them who they really are, they look away. You can't heal them. You can't fix them. You can't love them into becoming whole. But you can protect your heart, reclaim your peace, and walk into relationships where real love isn't feared, it's welcomed. Because you were never meant to be controlled. You were never meant to live in fear. You were created for more, for truth, for freedom, for love that lifts you, not love that breaks you.